Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about starter builds. So what makes a build a good starter build? It has to be good while leveling, or it has to have easy to gear alternatives that you can play that don't require a huge respec. It also has to be good while on low gear, because if you need expensive gear to make your starter build work, you have no efficient way to get that starter gear. And finally, it has to be good at Atlas progression. Now, exactly what these things mean are going to vary a little bit from person to person. If you need to be in tier 16 maps by the end of the first day, and you're playing in a group, then the starter build for you might not look like a starter build for someone else. It might look way out of someone's budget. Similarly, if it takes you 5 days just to get to white maps, and you may never see reds, your starter build also looks significantly different. So the following are general recommendations and don't apply to extreme cases. But all of these builds are very easy to play in solo self-found. They're also all, at the very least, decent at mapping and decent at bossing. This means that no matter what sort of content you're doing, you'll be able to do it. Furthermore, I'm going to be giving several options that I personally plan to pick from. Then I'm going to be talking about some things which were nerfed in some way in either the patch notes or the balance manifesto, and talking about if those nerfs actually kill the build off. In very few cases are starter builds actually completely dead. There are some that are certainly weaker, much like Essence Drain Contagion was last league. That doesn't mean they aren't playable, and if you are already experienced with that build, if you've already practiced on it, and you really want to do it, then so far I haven't seen very many that are completely dead. The two that stand out to me that may not be a good idea anymore are Physical Bladefall Blade Blast, because that build was never good to begin with, and now it's just worse, and Carrion Golems, which also got significant nerfs. But now, what am I going to be playing for my league starter? Well, it could be that at the last minute, I'm going to YOLO something, but most likely, I'm going to pick between one of these three things. Now, gameplay footage in most League Start videos does not accurately reflect League Start experience, and in the case of this video, that is also true. You're going to be going a lot slower, you're going to be having a lot less DPS, and you're going to be a lot squishier. These are just to give you a little bit of an idea of the kinds of playstyles that you'll see from these builds. I'm just using some random stuff that I had on standard, some old characters, to give you a rough idea. First, the obligatory it's probably a bad idea, but it's new, and new things are cool, so I'm going to try it build. And for me, this league, that is Bleedstorm, aka Bladestorm. The reason I think this could be a good idea is you're going to be hitting a ton with a very minimal investment into attack speed. It also means you can drop multi-strike as opposed to something like Lacerate, which feels fairly reliant on it. And you'll be able to apply 10 stacks of Corrupting Blood with the new Corrupting Fever quite easily. Now there's a couple things I have not worked out in this POB. The first thing is I am not 100% sure what I'm going to be doing about refreshing Corrupting Fever, if I'm going to be spamming it manually, or if it's going to be happening more passively. The second is that the weapon does not have the bleed mod, but does have pretty significant DPS. And while nothing here looks bad, it definitely doesn't stand up to the test of, is this better than Fizz Impale? So while I am considering it, the main reason I am considering it is because it's going to be a really safe, really comfy tanky build, and if it ends up being that the damage is too low, I can always fall back on Fizz Hit Impale, or just going Bleed Lacerate, because Bleed Lacerate with Corrupting Fever honestly looks pretty good. The second thing I am considering is ColdDoT Slinger. The reason I'm considering ColdDoT Slinger is because I saw some gameplay of the build several times, and it looked pretty good. If I don't play ColdDoT Slinger as my league starter, there is a very good chance that I'm going to be trying Creeping Frost Mines, because that also looked really fun when I saw Octavian play it. I know it did see a bit of a nerf with the berserking changes, but it looks like it survived pretty handily. Then finally, this is the thing that I'm most likely to play, because it's the safest pick on the list, and that is Bladefall Blade Blast. Bladefall Blade Blast got between a 20 and 30% damage reduction, depending on exactly which variant of the build you're playing. Almost every build survived. And which version would I personally be playing? Well, I don't think I want to play Poison again. Not because there's anything wrong with it. Poison, Bladefall Blade Blast, looks excellent. You can still use obliterations to get your easy early pops to clear. My specific setup did see some nerfs where with no hardened scars, you're probably going to want to use something like Shield Charge Fortify. You may even want to switch to something like Plague Bearer, Tail of a Clear, and give up the Explodey Chest. Mana might be a little tougher with the -9 nerf to -7, but overall, it looks totally fine. The Fire Volcanus version also saw nerfs. I do kind of like me some Inquisitor, so I could see myself playing this one. I haven't played the Cold Conversion Pathfinder version, I don't have any particular desire to play it. If I played a Pathfinder, I'd probably be going Poison Scourge Arrow because Darkscorn, completely untouched. The version of Bladefall Blade Blast that I am most likely to League start is Archmage Necromancer. I do have to look into how much of a loss the mana recovery is, and if you want to run a mana flask now to make up for the fact that you're only gaining 2% rather than 4% of max mana a second. Most likely, the build had absurd damage before, it's going to have absurd damage now, and the only real difference is you can't turn on RF to add even more damage that you did not need. But those are going to be my 3 options for League starters, with the most likely being the Bladefall Blade Blast, the second most likely being the Bleedstorm, the least likely being the ColdDoT Slinger. I will be providing a POB for Bleedstorm, because that's very experimental. If you want to see Bladefall Blade Blast stuff, I'm not going to recommend the Archmage version yet, because I haven't played it. However, I will recommend the Poison version and the Fizz Conversion version. I've played both of those, and I will leave links to videos where I talk about those in the description below. And if you found this information helpful, be sure to like the video so YouTube will recommend this to more people, so they can be saved from following a bad build guide that was made a week ago and doesn't account for the patch notes at all. And if you want to see my progress with the League Start build that I do end up choosing, be sure to subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and join my Discord so that you can see whenever I upload, because I'll be live streaming my experiences around League Start and making some build updates shortly thereafter. So what if none of those things appeal to you? A lot of the builds that were good last league are still going to be good this league. Detonate Dead saw slight nerfs, it is still very good. Toxic Rain is still very good. All this really means is you don't want to stack a ton of AoE on Toxic Rain. Instead, you probably want to use Conk Effect for single target. Spectres are still totally fine. And Miners are still totally fine, because Miners never needed a lot of the extra damage that they got from the Rage Abuse. Sure, it was great, it was free damage, you might as well have it, but you don't need it. All of those things are quite good still. If you play a Miner, please save yourself the time and the trouble, avoid Tremor Rod. It's an unnecessary expense, and it's just a bad item. I've also heard some people swear by Burning Arrow. Personally, I think it might be a little bit too gear reliant, so I would be hesitant to recommend that one personally. And if you want to go look at the options for yourself, I just suggest that you go onto PoE Ninja, you look week 1, day 3, whatever you think is appropriate, and you look at solo self-found and see what there is to see. Look for a build that stands out. I would be a little bit hesitant about Blade Vortex, and I would be a little hesitant about Carrion Golems. If you want to play Golemancer, Stone Golem should be totally fine, and you can transition it to Carrion Golem later. If you're really set on Bleed Bow and you're like, I don't know, I'm scared, I practiced Bleed Bow might be bad now, I don't think the changes are really going to kill any of the bleed builds. They may feel worse, they may require a little more gear to scale. Remember though, we are getting things like cruelty support that could end up buffing bleed. We are getting some new clusters. It's looking pretty decent, and there's definitely going to be viable bleed builds like Slam and Lacerate that are largely unaffected because what they lose in one place, they either didn't particularly need or make up for in another. We also still don't have the exact numbers for the local dot multi. It could end up being that you get something like 180% dot multi on your two-handed weapon, and it's virtually unchanged. That said, if you don't want to play Bleed Bow, and you're like, I needed a push to play something else, this is definitely a good time to consider playing something else. What if you're sitting here saying, well, I don't just need a build, I need a guide. I don't just need a POB, I don't just need a PoE Ninja page, I really need someone who's going to take the time and hold my hand and walk me through the process. I am not really the player for that. Most of my content and most of my focus is on the endgame. But Balor Mage has a lot of really excellent guides on his website, and I cannot recommend them enough. So if you're looking for a guide that will take you through League Start, hold your hand, and get you there step by step, especially in the leveling process, go look at balormage.com, check out his guides, drop by his stream. I will link to his stream and his YouTube and his website down below. They're all great resources. And if you're still unsure, just play Enki's Archwitch. The guide is great. The build is, at the very worst, same as it was last week, at best, buffed, because now you get even more Vol Arcs. And it's the sort of build that it's tried and true, it is tested, and it will always be good because Enki is always going to put in the work to make sure that it is a good experience for anyone who tries it at the start of a league. And so, with that, my question to you is simple. What are you going to be league starting in 3.14 Ultimatum League? And why is it that you're going to decide 5 minutes before the league starts, change your mind halfway through while making a character, and choose something completely random that you didn't plan for? Because that's my plan. As a note, you probably shouldn't follow my plan. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And special thanks to all of my channel members who help support me so that I can continue to make videos just like this one. Your support really means a lot, and without it, I probably wouldn't be able to make videos of this regularly. If you want to help support the channel, click the membership button or the link down in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful and want to ask me a question in a more interactive setting, I stream at least once a week here on YouTube, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have relating to this video or any of my other videos. Thank you again, and I hope to see you on stream sometime. Have a great day.